Chips won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
Big Trouble in Little China.
And as a bonus, it is our 70th show.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
if you've listened since the beginning, we've stolen almost 3 days of your life.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not.
Take yourself back to 1986.
Ooh.
February 1st, Kung Fu the Movie, starring David Carradine and Brandon Lee, a made-for-TV film sequel to the Kung Fu TV series that was canceled in 1975, airs on CBS.
I loved Kung Fu, man. That
Yeah.
was just such a great show.
Did you watch the original show?
I did, but in reruns. I
Right,
wasn't like,
right.
5 being like, yeah, Carradine.
Yeah.
But I did love the reruns because it was just, again,
Yeah.
hero
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
going down to town,
Yeah.
helping people solve
Wandering through.
with Kung Fu.
Nomadic. Yeah, it's so up your alley.
Such a
I don't
great
know
show.
why I even
Such a
asked.
great show.
I was surprised the show only ran for 3 seasons. I thought
was-
it ran longer than that.
It's a niche show, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't. Yeah, kids, little boys loved watching kung fu movies, but they weren't mainstreamy, at that point.
That's very true. I think it did run a lot in syndication or reruns and stuff.
Well, that's
so
why
it's
they
like-
made a movie
Right,
in
right.
1986 because
like
of the
11 years later.
Yeah, they don't bring stuff back from the dead unless there's a profit.
Which it wasn't even. There was like 3 more TV movies after that through the 80s and the
Yeah.
early 90s, and this was Brandon Lee's very first role.
Nice.
Yeah, he played his estranged son that he didn't know he had the son. And I don't want to spoil it, but
I think I remember
they
these.
fight.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of fighting. He didn't want to fight, but he'd fight if he had to.
Of course. April 27th, Captain Midnight interrupts the HBO satellite feed for 4.5 minutes, complaining about the cost of HBO at the time, which was $12.95 a month.
It really hasn't risen that much.
No, honestly.
I mean, considering
Honestly,
inflation, it's like what? For the subscription service, it's like what, 18 or 19 or
no, is it even that? I think it's $14.99.
something like that. I pay for it. I got to start paying attention to my bills. But yeah, good for you, HBO. I mean, maybe it was just super expensive back then, and they were like,
Well, I mean, relatively sure, I guess.
it
But
just added to your cable bill.
yeah.
You
I mean, they were the first ones to actually do that, and then everybody
Hey,
else
look,
jumped on the bandwagon.
$12 a month for a bunch of movies. It was a good bargain.
I mean, it's 24 hours of movies every day. Like, that's...
Well, same 6 movies, but yeah,
But you could watch them 4 times each.
It's true. It's true. Just park
or
the kids
twice.
in front, and they'd watch like 6 R-rated movies before 6.
I-
But
yeah.
back then they wouldn't show R-rated movies before prime time.
Right,
Like
right.
they would keep it pretty clean during the day, to the bane of horny little children, little boys that want to watch boobies. But
Yeah.
I think Showtime, or one of them, maybe
Cinemax, yeah.
didn't have
HBO,
such a policy.
HBO, I only time I ever watched HBO growing up was on New Year's Eve when I went over and hung out with my friends. My parents would go to their friend's house for New Year's Eve, and they would do, I remember like Herman's Head or something. It's not Herman's Head. There was
No,
another
that was a
show,
Fox
something
show.
like that. There's something, anyway. It was something I was not interested in, but before
The
midnight.
one with Brian Benben?
Yes.
Dream On?
Yes, I think it was Dream On.
Yeah.
And I would always be watching it and be like, I don't understand this. This is dumb. But then, right before midnight, from 11 to midnight, they would play Fraggle Rock.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember just being so excited every
yeah.
year of like, hey.
Dream On was a good show.
Yeah.
Brian
it was.
Benben.
It was.
Good. I wonder what happened to Brian Benben. Way back when.
He,
Okay.
I don't know.
But yeah, HBO, man. A good bargain then.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a better bargain now.
Well, and this is also, Captain Midnight was very, very 80s because you can't do that now.
No.
You can't break into a satellite feed.
There was a lot of weird stuff going on like that.
The whole
Creepy
weird Max Headroom guy
Yeah.
who did that. Yeah.
creeps.
Yeah. May 1st, A Great Wall is released, a comedy drama written, directed, and starring Peter Wang. It was the first American film shot in communist China.
Wow.
It was
I don't
actually
remember-
co-produced by them. I've never seen it, but I heard about it, and it
if
got
it really-
really great reviews.
If it was released, I saw it because I saw
it
every
was.
movie that came out. So
Yeah. It was. It did very well for Peter Wang. I'm not sure what he's done since then, but it was. People were saying, "Oh, it's a brand new thing with China and how it's going to open up everything," and yeah, and that's where we are now with China and
Yeah.
Marvel kowtowing to China all the time.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
hey, money talks, baby.
They have 1 billion people. It's a lot of money, a lot of seats.
It's,
a lot of
it's show business, not show do the right thing.
All right, that's true. July
Bastards.
July 2nd, Big Trouble in Little China is released in theaters.
Cricket,
Yeah,
cricket.
much more with a whimper than a bang.
That's me doing crickets.
Nice. So why did Big Trouble in Little China, which seemed like it would have been a box office smash in 1986, blending fantasy and martial arts with a likable up-and-coming action star and a proven indie director, struggle to barely make even half of its budget back?
Because people are morons. Morons. I saw this in the theaters and loved it.
Yeah. I didn't see it till it was on TV.
I think I saw this several times in the theater. By the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, I would if I had, I would have too. Yeah.
I was already a huge fan of the combo of Russell and Carpenter.
Kurt and John.
Yeah, from doing Kurt and John, Russell
Kurt and
Carpenter.
John.
Whether you want to go surnames or proper names, but they had proven themselves with Escape from New York. They did Elvis, they did other things.
Yeah. The first thing they worked on together, Elvis, and then The Thing, and they did a string of stuff together.
The Thing is my favorite horror movie of all time.
Although The Thing, and eventually we'll do an episode about The Thing, but that was not terribly well received either.
No, because people are morons. No, literally, these are. If you look at the movies that people, these movies that slip through the cracks that end up becoming huge cult hits, they have a certain sensibility that's a little bit of ahead of its time.
Yes,
strong women characters. The big macho male John Wayne character is a bumbling boob.
Right.
It's like people aren't ready for change until they're ready for change, and great movies slip through the cracks and become cult hits because people are morons.
Yes, they grow into the movies.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the first version of the screenplay was written by first-time screenwriters Gary Goldman and David Z. Weinstein. Goldman had been inspired by a new wave of martial arts films that had
all sorts of weird action and special effects shot against this background of Oriental mysticism and modern sensibilities.
Oriental, though?
Yeah.
It's already problematic.
It's very much of its time.
Yeah.
I started reading the Golden Child adaptation,
Yeah.
and they use the word Oriental a lot.
Well, I don't think it was used pejorative. I don't think it was like
Not negatively.
Yeah, I think it was more just a term.
Yeah.
You
But it was still not. Yeah. It was ignorant, but like
Yes.
But
100%,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't think anyone meant anything bad by it.
No, it was just that casual racism that just permeated the entire time, where anybody that wasn't white was just fair game for any sort of stereotype or making fun of, and everybody just accepted it as okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Woohoo! Old times.
I just found out, total speed bump, but I just found out that paddywagon apparently is a derogatory
Yeah,
term.
for the Irish.
I did not know that.
Ooh, stick it to the paddy wagon.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's where they throw all the drunken Irish bastards.
A friend
all
of
the potato eaters.
A friend of Phoebe's from Boston heard it and just freaked out, and I was like, "What?" Like I'd never connected that.
The Irish experienced an insane amount of
yes.
discrimination.
Right. To the point where even now it seems like it's just fine.
Well, it's just funny because it's like yes, we still talk about leprechauns and drunken Irish people, and it's just we make fun of them, the potato eating, having tons of kids or whatever. But they did take a lot of flack, I mean, most immigrants did, it's just like. But it was just crazy how much they hated the Irish Catholics.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, it was just one of those. I was firmly determined that it was not a racist term, and then I looked it up, and I was like, hey, look at that, I'm an idiot.
The Irish Catholics, they've gotten their revenge. On the Supreme Court now and dictating everything we do. So, way to go. Maybe they were right to discriminate against them. No. Just kidding.
No.
Just a joke, please.
Gary Goldman would go on to write the script for the 1990 Schwarzenegger hit Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Yeah. Which I mean,
it's such a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Man.
It's a great movie.
It's a great,
absolutely great
of its
movie.
time. It's like one of those perfect time capsules of the 80s. It's just like it.
Oh yeah.
Or early 90s. Was it 80s?
1990.
Yeah. So I mean, it was that bridge. So it's still everything that's like 1 and 2 of the next decade is still to me of the previous.
It's still
decade.
the
the
bleeding
transitory
over.
period
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So they had written the original script for Big Trouble in China. It was written originally as a Western set in the 1880s with Jack Burton as a cowboy who rides into town.
Oh, man, I want this movie. I want it.
I agree. I think it sounds really fascinating. Goldman and Weinstein envisioned what amounts to a weird Western. They took inspiration from movies like Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia by Sam Peckinpah in 1974.
Have you seen that movie?
No.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That movie is incredible. If you want to see one of the greatest performances, Warren Oates is the lead in that. And it's not like a Western in the West.
Yeah, it's a
You know,
neo-Western.
like-
yeah.
It is just this really cool movie about this guy going down to Mexico
Yeah.
to go get the head of Alfredo Garcia. No, but it's very complicated. It's really great, and it's got all that Peckinpah violence and that crazy
Yeah,
Peckinpah
yeah.
blood that just looks fake enough to make his violence palatable, you know?
He's fantastic.
But
He's
I love, that is one of my favorite movies. My first college roommate, Mike Reese, he and I bonded over that movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll have to put it on my list. El Topo by Alejandro Jodorowsky in 1970.
Another great one.
Another great movie, yes. The Valley of Guanji in 1969 with dinosaur effects done by Ray Harryhausen. Yeah,
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Dinosaur effects done by Ray Harryhausen.
Oh man, that's a great one too. That was one that would play on the Creature feature. And
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to my voice, but it combined two of my faves, dinosaurs and westerns, man.
It was Ray Harryhausen's least favorite movie he worked on.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
And Billy the Kid versus Dracula, 1966, starring John Carradine.
That I did not see. I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe because I watched a lot of Creature features. They might have slipped it in.
I kind of assumed it would be on like Tubi or something, like one of those free streaming services. It was not. And I think part of it is because Carradine has gone on record stating it's the only film he regrets making.
And that's insane because he made a string of horrible movies to satisfy his, shall we say, horse habits.
It was actually done as a double feature with.
And he's the father of
David
David
Carradine.
Carradine.
Yeah.
From
There was another Western movie. It was somebody versus the Wolfman or something, but I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
Maybe Wyatt Earp versus the Wolfman
Maybe.
or Buffalo Bill or something. Anyway, they were just awful, awful
Yeah,
movies.
those, dinosaurs cool. The Universal monsters in Westerns, not so much. Although, I will say that one of the best DLCs for a video game ever is the Undead Nightmare expansion for the original, or Red Dead Redemption, I guess, 2. The original
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption, which was a sequel
Right,
to
the
Red Revolver.
Yeah.
For you nerds.
Red Dead Redemption. Yes.
But that was like a completely new game, and it was so much
amazing.
fun. And,
Absolutely fun.
And it fit so perfectly and was so well done.
So Goldman and Weinstein submitted the script to Taft Entertainment Pictures executive producers Paul Monash and Keith Barish during the summer of 1982. Monash bought their script and had them do at least one rewrite, but still did not like the results. This seems to happen a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to buy this script from you. I don't like it, but I'm going to buy this script from you.
Because they like the idea. They like the conceit, and they know if they buy the idea, then they can eventually fire the writers and have somebody
it
come in
whatever.
and make the conceit good.
Monash remembers...
The problems came largely from the fact that it was set in the turn of the century San Francisco, which affected everything: style, dialogue, action.
Goldman rejected a request by 20th Century Fox for a rewrite that asked for major alterations.
Bold for a guy. This is their first script, right?
Yes.
This is their first script, and they're oh my, okay.
He was mad when the studio wanted to update it to a contemporary setting. So guess what happened next?
Pew!
Studio fired them.
That's their bodies going back to Ohio, never to be
it's
seen again.
so ballsy to be like, well, you wanted the script.
The hubris of youth, my friends.
Yeah.
You gotta compromise with the studios if you want to have a career. Unless you're, Scorsese or
No, you have
some
a
sort of
track
auteur.
record.
Yeah,
Sure.
you can't just come in. First of all, so few scripts are bought, actually. It's like
Yeah.
12, 15 scripts. Well, there's probably a lot more with streaming services. Back then,
Right, it was-
every studio would only purchase a handful of scripts every year and develop even a less for their slate. So just the fact that you got purchased and fast tracked to be made into a movie, you've hit the lottery. So for you to be like, well, I don't know, I think you're wrong.
Contemporaries for losers.
Yeah, I'm sticking by my vision. Take it. I'll walk. I will walk. Okay. Take a walk, baby.
Regardless of them being fired, they still wanted credit for the contributions, being extremely vocal about it.
Yeah, well, I get that. I mean, of course.
Yes.
I mean,
but this was even before they brought on another writer and before there was any rewrites done.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it could have been none of their words at all on the page.
Well, it was dumb of them to die on that hill.
Yes.
And not, because it's also more money when you do the rewrite, and then then it would have been still their project.
Right.
But because they got snoots, then, they got the boots.
If you get the snoots, you get the boots.
Yep, exactly. Put that on a T-shirt.
The studio brought in screenwriter W.D. Richter, a veteran script doctor and director of The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, baby.
To extensively rewrite the script.
Good. That movie is brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant. One of the best sci-fi movies ever made, in my opinion.
I gotta be honest, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Holy shit, Adam! I am cursing because I am so appalled.
I may have watched it in college, but I do not remember.
We might have to boost that up and put it on the board and do a show quickly to get you to watch it because you would love it.
Well, we can.
It's
just
Jeff
watch
Goldblum.
It. Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah. Okay.
And it's
okay.
RoboCop, man. Peter Weller.
Yeah.
And it's.
Does he play RoboCop in the movie?
No, he's Buckaroo Banzai.
I know. Oh, he's Buckaroo.
Yeah.
Banzai. Okay.
And you got Christopher Lloyd as like an alien
really?
from a different
I've
dimension. The whole thing
not
is
seen
Buckaroo
this.
Banzai is this scientist. Okay, look, I can't do this because
Okay,
I'll take up
all
the
right.
entire show.
All
But
right.
good
we'll
God, I can't
we'll
believe
put it on the board.
Wow, confessions, baby. I didn't know.
I'm being honest. I'm just being honest.
I'm hurt.
I don't want to pretend I've seen something I
I'm
haven't.
gonna have to shake this off.
So essentially, W.D. Richter removed all of the weird Western elements from the script. Goldman contacted Richter and suggested that he should not work on the script. Richter told him,
I'm sorry the studio doesn't want to go forward with you guys, but my turning it down is not going to get you the job. They'll just hire somebody else.
almost everything in the original script was discarded except for Lopan's story. Richter realized that...
What it needed wasn't a rewrite, but a complete overhaul. It was a dreadful screenplay. This happens often when the scripts are bought and there's no intention that the original writers will stay on.
Yeah, so that essentially what you said was true. They bought the idea.
Yeah.
And they had no intention of dealing with the two writers. Richter used Rosemary's Baby as his template.
The foreground story in a familiar context, rather than San Francisco at the turn of the century, which distances the audience immediately. And just have one simple remove, the world underground. You have a much better chance of making direct contact with the audience.
He wrote his own draft in 10 weeks.
Well, he had a good
I mean, yeah.
base point, you know.
10 weeks is plenty. I mean, that's plenty. Fox wanted to deny Goldman and Weinstein writing credit and eliminated their names from press releases. They wanted Richter to have sole writing credit.
It's not fair. They have to at least put...
I agree.
You know, I mean, they wrote the original product.
They should have gone a story by credit.
Sure.
And then written by Richter, which is what ended up happening. In March 1986, the Writers Guild of America West determined that written by credit would go to Goldman and Weinstein based on the WJ screenwriting credit system, which protects original writers. However, Richter did get an adaptation by credit for his work on the script. Director John Carpenter was disappointed that Richter did not get a proper screenwriting credit because of the ruling. Carpenter also made his own additions to Richter's rewrites, which included strengthening the Gracie Law role and linking her to Chinatown.
Nice.
Removing a few action sequences due to budgetary restrictions.
Wah.
Yeah. And eliminating material deemed offensive to Chinese Americans.
Nice.
Yes, which is good. Carpenter is good at that. The characters in the film reminded Carpenter...
The characters in Bringing Up Baby is Girl Friday. These are the 1930s Howard Hawks people.
The rapid-fire delivery of dialogue, especially between Jack Burton and Gracie Law, is an example of what the director is referring to.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, they
Yeah.
had a good snappy repartee.
I mean, that's part of the reason that I because of this movie is why I love film noir, because I was used to that dialogue. I love
Yeah.
that type of dialogue.
Once you watch it, it's really a great mix of so many different elements that really work well together, but people just weren't ready to see together.
No, they were not. Barish and Monash first offered the project to Carpenter in July of 1985. He had read the Goldman-Weinstein script and deemed it
outrageously unreadable, though it had many interesting elements.
Regardless, the project fulfilled Carpenter's long-standing desire to make a martial arts film.
Curious about all different genres.
Of course he was.
You know?
Yeah. He was great. Carpenter had just come off directing the Oscar-nominated Starman with Jeff Bridges.
I 100% forgot that he directed that. 100%.
It's weird. I mean, I loved Starman. It's a
great movie.
It doesn't feel like a Carpenter movie.
It doesn't.
I mean, I probably need to watch it again. It's been a long time.
Because it's like a Hollywoodized Carpenter film.
Yeah.
Because it still has the elements
Yeah,
of a Carpenter film, but it's more soft and sweet. It's basically Jeff Daniels as E.T. Jeff Bridges is E.T.
Not Jeff Daniels.
Wow, an alien. Hey. Hoo-hee-how.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges is absolutely incredible in that movie.
And so is Karen Allen, by the way.
Yes, Karen Allen's great,
Let's
too.
not forget her.
Oh, no. It was a great movie.
It was.
After seeing footage of Starman, the executive producer of the Superman film series, Ilya Salkind, offered Carpenter the chance to direct the latest Alexander Ilya Salkind fantasy epic, Santa Claus the Movie.
That was with Dudley Moore, right?
Yeah.
As the elf.
Yeah.
I don't even remember anything about that movie.
I don't
Was it a flop?
I don't think it did anything. Yeah.
I don't know, though. I don't know.
I don't think it did, to be honest. Salkind made the offer to Carpenter during lunch at the Ritz, and while he loved the idea of differing from his normal traditions and directing a children's fantasy film, he requested 24 hours to think about the offer. The next day, he had made a list of requirements should he direct the film. They were
100% creative control, the right to assume script writing duties, being able to co-compose the film's musical score, total editorial control, the casting of Brian Dennehy as Santa Claus, and a $5 million signing on fee.
the same amount that the film star Dudley Moore was receiving.
I don't think that's, I mean, yes.
You would have gotten a really good movie.
Yeah, you would have. I think
yeah.
to get a Carpenter movie, those demands are not unreasonable.
No.
But that's unreasonable to a studio, especially
Yes.
for an indie director.
Yes. Salkind immediately withdrew his offer for him to direct.
Yeah, because he was a control freak too.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
course he
you
was,
can't have two
yes.
control freaks working together.
20th Century Fox was afraid that the production would create major overruns and hired Carpenter to direct because he could work fast. He had a proven track record doing his indie movies.
So you mean Big Trouble, not Santa Claus?
To hire Big Trouble.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, for Big Trouble. They knew it was going to be an expensive movie, potentially a too expensive movie, and they knew that with Carpenter's track record with Halloween and doing these lower budget movies that he'd be able to do it and do it quickly and well.
You know, can I just take a quick speed
Sure.
bump? I think maybe one of the reasons why this film and Golden Child. I mean, Golden Child did pretty good.
It did very well.
But I think that the reason why this didn't do as well is because there was a lot of Japanese backlash back then, from like
Yeah.
car companies coming in. You
Yeah.
remember like Gung Ho.
Yeah.
the movie
There was
Ron Howard
definitely
directed, and there was like an
feeling, yeah.
anti-Japanese sentiment, kind of a us versus them,
Yeah.
like a business war
Yeah.
going on at that point, and there was a lot of worry about the Japanese are going to take over the world.
Yeah.
And I think there was I think having the difference between this and Golden Child was that Eddie Murphy was the star and the hero.
Right,
And,
right.
he didn't fall and, he was
No,
goofy
he was your stereotypical
but
hero.
he still saved the day. I mean,
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
another strong female character and she could save her own self.
Yeah, yeah.
But, in this movie, the real heroes were the Asian stars.
Yeah.
And Jack Burton was kind of just like, it's like if you took John Wayne as he really was and not the actor John Wayne and
Right.
threw him in this kind of situation.
Right.
He'd want to do the right thing, but he doesn't really, the guy doesn't know how to really do all the stuff that he does in the movies. So I think maybe that could have been part of it, is just like, well, I don't think, like I said, people
Yeah.
weren't ready, but they weren't ready because of all of this BS about,
Yeah, I would agree.
It just came to me. I thought I'd share it.
No, totally. I think it was definitely a factor. And I still not sure why the Golden Child made so, because the Golden Child made like $300 million.
Well, Eddie Murphy. It was Eddie
yeah,
Murphy.
yeah.
Because
That's
it
true.
wasn't Eddie. It was still in Eddie's prime. He was coming off of Beverly Hills Cop 2, I think.
No, Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. So I mean, he had 3 huge hits in a row.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places,
Yeah.
and 48 Hours.
Yeah, those 3 all made a lot of money.
So
And
Eddie Murphy could have read the phone book for the
That's
fourth
true.
movie,
That is true.
and it still would have broken $100 million. And at that time, Kurt Russell wasn't much of a. He wasn't a big name, you know.
He was, yeah, he definitely was not a big name. I mean, he'd done a couple, especially in this kind of role.
He was also a child actor.
Yeah.
He was a big Disney star. People forget that he was in all these Disney movies as a little kid up until a teenager. All the computer with tennis shoes. And
his first act was incredible. People forget, yes, that he was in like 50 things before he was 20.
Yeah, and then it was the turn in Elvis that gave him his adult career.
Right.
You know, and then consequently he kept working with Carpenter, you know, and they were kind of maturing together as actor and filmmaker. It's a really cool pairing.
Yeah. So 20th Century Fox, given the fact they were worried about overruns and stuff, they only gave Carpenter 10 weeks of pre-production.
That's effed up. I mean, you're setting people up to fail because this is a huge sci-fi laden action movie, and if you want it to work out well, you need the preparation. For it to be safe.
Right.
You know, these heavy stunt, you know, martial arts movies are very dangerous, especially if you're using like wires and trampolines and all the...
all the stuff that he did end up using.
So it's like, you know, and you also got all of these special effects that have to be mapped out and figured out. And
before you can shoot anything. Yeah.
And it's not like today where everything's digital and you could just like chunk it in there.
Throw them on and,
you know, it's like basically directing 2 movies.
Right.
You know, but you had to like... Everything was practical. They had to build the puppet of the eye. They had to, you know, it was like...
They had to know exactly where the weird eye thing was turning so that they could set the shots up that way and do all that. And 10 weeks is not a lot.
No, and if you look at his movies, there's so much... Like, The Thing is so well put together and so precise. And it's still, to this day, scary. And those prosthetic and practical effects are still super gross and super unsettling and freaky. You know, it's like the guy knows his stuff.
Yeah, he knows what he's done. Problems began to arise when Carpenter learned that the next Eddie Murphy vehicle, The Golden Child, featured a similar theme and was going to be released around the same time as Big Trouble in Little China.
So weird.
The way he found out about this was that they actually asked him to direct The Golden Child.
Nice.
But he was committed to Big Trouble in Little China. I believe he had already said yes to this, and then he knew the Problem Child was going to make a ton of money.
He made the right choice.
Yes, agreed.
He made the better film, and you know, historically a better loved film.
Yes, totally. Carpenter said,
"How many adventure pictures dealing with Chinese mysticism have been released by the major studios in the past 20 years? For 2 of them to come along at the exact same time is more than mere coincidence."
Yeah, and this wouldn't be the last time something like this would happen.
No, we had volcano movies, we had
asteroid movies, yeah.
There's always competing movies, you know.
Especially these big budget, like, blockbuster things.
But weird ones. Like, why 2 asteroid movies? Why 2 volcano movies? Like, was anybody clamoring for, they're making the volcano movie, we got to make Dante's Peak. Well, I don't know whichever one came first.
I'm sure that there are scripts passing through all the studios, and they pass on Armageddon, and then somebody else picks it up, and they're like, oh my God, we got to make Deep Impact now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
No, I get it. It's just, it's very blatant, and it seems to, you know, one of the pictures is doomed to fail.
It is, I mean, they still, I mean, as far as I know, they all
both
kind
pictures
of
are
make
doomed
money.
to fail because I think both of the volcano pictures did
not do
crappy
terrible.
because they were bad movies.
They just weren't good movies.
The Tommy Lee Jones one was it's a guilty pleasure. I don't know what it's called.
Is that the one with the volcano in L.A.?
Yeah, it comes out of.
I think it's just called Volcano.
Is it Volcano?
Yeah.
That's the one where it comes out of La Brea tar pits.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a dormant volcano underneath there that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
But it's got a great cast and it's so cheesy and so much fun. And Dante's Peak it's not as fun. It's just
Dante's Peak is the one where they try to get across.
That's Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah,
no, and maybe
and the boat, and the woman gets out and pushes him along, and essentially just melts.
Yeah, there's a melting scene in both movies. Like there's the guy that's walking down the subway. That, he melts.
God, I haven't seen either of those in forever.
There's a reason.
To beat the rival production at being released in theaters, Big Trouble went into production in October of 1985, so it could open in July of 1986, 5 months before The Golden Child's Christmas release.
Again, the filmmaker suffers because of commerce.
Because of the business side. So Carpenter moved on to casting. To compete with rival production The Golden Child's casting of box office draw Eddie Murphy, Carpenter wanted a big star of his own, and both Clint Eastwood and Jack Nicholson were considered, but turned it down.
I'm too busy. Me too.
I can't see either of them in this movie.
I actually could. Well, Jack Nicholson
at
would.
the time, yes.
I think if people forget that Clint Eastwood did a lot of comedies in the 70s.
He did.
He was
Actually,
more of
that's
a straight
true,
man, but
yes.
he's a really funny guy. And I think Clint Eastwood playing against type
Yeah.
and being a bumbler would have been hilarious. It would have been awesome. It would have. This movie would have been.
It's so hard for me to see him that way because he's
Yeah.
so serious now.
yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah, but I think watch Any Which Way But Loose.
I know.
But it's like. I think that would have been hilarious. Jack Nicholson, I don't know. I mean, I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see him. I'm sure he would have been great. But,
but it
Yeah.
still would have been,
But still, it's like he probably secretly knew that it was going to be Kurt Russell all along.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was to appease the studio and just like, hey, we're gonna try.
And honestly, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Clint Eastwood would have gotten it. And
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if either of them would have necessarily gotten it the way Kurt Russell did.
or had the shorthand that they probably already had.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of being able to having rushed through the production,
Right.
it was probably a lot easier working with Kurt than it would have been working with either of those two guys.
Agreed.
As fascinating it would have been to see both those guys. And if it was a Western, it would have been great to have.
Oh
Clint
yeah.
Eastwood.
Oh yeah. Russell and Carpenter had worked together on a number of films, as we said. Elvis in 1979, the made-for-TV movie. Escape from New York in 1981. The Thing in 1982.
Both of those movies, man. I remember seeing Escape from New York for the first time on HBO or one of those things and just loving it. Loving it. And it's like the opening when he's getting all of his gadgets and he's got his one eye, and his cool little leather outfit and his eye patch, and he was just, I'm Snake Plissken. He didn't give an F about S. It was such a cool character.
Yeah.
And it had Donald Pleasance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Russell was initially not interested because he felt there were
A number of different ways to approach Jack, but I didn't know if there was a way that would be interesting enough for this movie.
It's interesting. To me, that's really interesting that he was worried about doing it right.
Yeah, because it was a different kind of role. Because he's used to playing outsider characters and different characters, but to play a bumbler,
Yeah.
Maybe it was because he's basically the lead as a second banana.
Yeah.
Which is very, it's like a bait and switch for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
audience.
yeah,
You
yeah.
think you're getting heroic, Jack Burton doing all the heavy lifting, but it's really all the other guys that are taking care of business.
It's a big ego check for the actor.
Yeah, and I think it was cool of him to take it, and I think it was maybe he was thinking like how he could maintain his appeal to his fans with still doing justice to this character.
Right. After talking to Carpenter and reading the script a few more times, he gained insight into the character and liked the notion of playing.
A hero has so many faults. Jack is and isn't the hero. He falls on his ass as much as he comes through. This guy's a real blowhard. He has a lot of hot air, very self-assured. A screw-up.
Russell felt that
At heart, Burton thinks he's Indiana Jones, but the circumstances are always too much for him.
the film would be a hard one to market.
This is a difficult picture to sell because it's hard to explain. It's a mixture of the real history of Chinatown and San Francisco blended with the Chinese legend and lore. It's bizarre stuff. There are only a handful of non-Asian actors in the cast.
I am so incredibly happy that Kurt Russell was cast in
Yeah,
this
me
movie.
too.
He's so good. It's one of my favorite things he's done.
Yeah, well, look.
he's so good.
I love everything. I mean, The Thing.
Yeah,
God, that's one of my top 5 movies of all time, and my, like I said, top horror movie.
Oh yeah.
But this is in the top 20.
Yeah.
Young Kurt Russell is one of the greatest action stars because he has such charm.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
and the best part is when he plays against that charm, somehow he's still even more charming. Because it's like Snake Plissken is an a-hole, and a nihilist and a criminal.
Yeah.
And the dude from The Thing is just a minor, man.
Yeah,
He's not a hero. He didn't give an
No,
F about
no.
S. He just wants to get drunk and go home. Take his share of the mining money or
Right,
whatever.
right.
He doesn't want to have to kill all of his buddies, turning into goopity goops. Same with Jack Burton. He's just a truck driver.
Yeah, he
with
just
a lot
wants-
of hubris.
He just wants to get his truck back.
He just wants the money that his buddy owes him from poker
Yeah.
and get his truck back. And it's like, he's thrown into this situation, which is so great. And he's the best. Harrison Ford is the best guy at playing like beat up. Nobody does the shaky hand coming over the cliff with blood on it than Harrison Ford pulling himself up. But nobody does like bumbling better than Russell. And I don't mean bumbling like Kevin, that chubby act.
Kevin James?
Kevin James bumbling, like Fatty Falls Down. I mean, like, believable.
This is actually his new movie, Fatty Falls Down.
It is. Produced by Adam Sandler and on Netflix. He can play it in a way that is relatable, right?
Yeah.
He's not a dummy. He just doesn't know. His hubris is more than his body is capable of doing. He's like a guy who thinks he's just, like he says, he thinks he's Indiana Jones, but he's just a truck driver,
He's just a dude. He's an everyman.
Some of the greatest shots is where he pulls his knife out and it flips out of his hand, and he's just standing there like naked, or when he knocks himself out, right before one of the fights.
Right before a big fight.
It's so great. It's just, and it, like you said, I think it takes a certain amount of humility to be able to trust in playing a part like that, and not needing to be the strongest dude on the set.
Yeah, exactly. The studio pressured Carpenter to cast a rock star in the role of Gracie Law, but Carpenter wanted Kim Cattrall.
She was great in this.
Oh, she's
so
amazing in this. The studio was not keen on the idea because at the time, Cattrall was primarily known for raunchy comedies like Porky's and Police Academy.
Was Police Academy that raunchy? I mean, it was a little bit. First one was R, I think.
Yeah.
And there was a little.
Maybe the
raunch.
first one was more, and then they toned it down as it went.
But there was. I mean, her character wasn't raunchy.
No.
She played a cop.
No. Yeah.
She was like the female lead. But whatever. I mean, it's just like, it just shows how gross and puritanical and icky the studio dudes were back then.
Yeah. In 1985, Cattrall had starred in 3 movies that were released. Turk 182 by Bob Clark, a firefighter action comedy drama.
Interesting movie with Timothy Hutton.
Yes.
Playing Turk 182.
Yeah.
And his brother, played by the late, great, he played Spencer for Hire.
Oh.
He was also on.
I don't remember his name.
Anyway, I forget his name, but he like died got horribly hurt in some sort of fire thing.
Yeah.
His brother, Turk 182, I think was his brother's call sign.
Yeah, call sign or whatever. Yeah.
And he was trying to, get them to do the right thing.
I haven't seen Turk 182 in a long time. I remember
It's a good movie.
really liking it.
Yeah, it's
but
very
I didn't
different.
realize it was also directed by Bob Clark, which surprised me.
Yeah, from
Black Christmas.
Yeah, and also
and Christmas
gonna
Story.
shoot your eye out.
City Limits. She was also in City Limits, a post-apocalyptic action movie written and directed by Aram Lipstadt, who started his career as the assistant production manager on Battle Beyond the Stars.
Battle beyond the stars.
City Limits was not very well received.
Yeah, that was kind of a lateral move.
She also starred in Hold Up, a French-Canadian comedy based on the novel Quick Change, which would later be adapted into the Bill Murray movie of the same name.
Yeah,
which I didn't realize it was originally a French movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, that was back when they would rip off, like a French movie, a foreign film, and they wouldn't really give it any credit.
Right.
They'd just be like, oh, give them the idea.
It's a good idea.
It'd be like a tiny little thing based on.
Yeah, right. She was drawn to the film because of the way her character was portrayed. She said,
I'm not screaming for help the whole time. I think the humor comes from the situations in my relationship with Jack Burton. I'm the brains and he's the brawn.
She was so phenomenal in this movie.
Yes, and she's an actor that's so good at reacting.
Yeah.
And listening, and she's so watchable that I've seen this movie 450 billion times, but a lot of times I'll just watch her, the way she's reacting to what Burton's saying or what the thing that's going on. It's very kind of Preston Sturges. It's very old Hollywood, and she really got the conceit of the part and just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
One of the best things she's ever done.
Oh, yeah, agreed. I totally agreed. They cast Dennis Dunn as Wang Chi. Carpenter had seen Dennis Dunn in Year of the Dragon in 1985, and Dennis's first feature, and liked his work in that film. He met the actor twice before casting him in the role of Wang Chi, only a few days before principal photography started. The martial arts sequences were not hard for Dunn, who had dabbled in training as a kid and performed Chinese opera as an adult.
Damn.
Yeah. He was drawn to the portrayal of Asian characters in the movie, as he said.
I'm seeing Chinese actors getting to do stuff that American movies usually don't let them do. I've never seen this type of role for an Asian man in an American film. He was awesome.
He was so good in this.
Wang. Hey, Wang.
He played off Russell so well.
Yeah, but he also got that rapid fire dialogue.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was like, watching Bogey, or, he really got the conceit, and he was very good. And the young lady that played opposite him, the other, his assistant to,
Oh, yeah.
that came around. But he was just like, hey, Jack, da-da-da-da-da. He had the rhythm down, he had everything down, and it was like, he is the star of the film.
Yeah.
He's the one that tricks Jack into helping him
Right,
save his fiance, or help get his fiance, who, brings, spoiler alert for a million-year-old film, who was kidnapped by Lopan, because he needs the green-eyed
the
virgin?
Pure.
I don't know.
Pure. I don't know if it's a virgin, but pure.
Yeah, to keep his immortality.
Well,
in
yeah,
check.
he needs to get his corporality back,
Right.
Because he was cursed by, I can't remember.
Very.
Somebody in the, it was a real guy,
Yep.
but anyway,
it's all based on real.
It's real
Chinese
stuff,
lore,
yeah.
And that's what makes it also very interesting. And all the characters, are badass. You know what I mean? Like the bad guys are badass.
Oh, yeah.
It's the good guys are awesome. There's not any real, cheap shots.
No.
At the Asian American community.
No, definitely not.
It's very just. It's just such a cool adventure movie that just starts and moves and goes.
Yeah. Agreed. Jackie Chan was at one point considered for the role of Wang Chi, but decided after the box office disasters of The Big Brawl and The Protector, he should put more time and effort into his career in Hong Kong's film industry with Police Story instead.
Which, great choice, because Police Story is an amazing film.
Absolutely amazing.
And I don't think he wouldn't have been able to pull off that, rapid fire film noir kind of deal. Just because, his English isn't his first language.
Right.
It's like he's a great actor and I love him. I love I hate the director, but I love the Rush Hour, the first two Rush Hour films. I love that.
my absolute favorite Jackie Chan movie is Rumble in the Bronx.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
It's just like an
fantastic
hour and a half
movie.
brawl.
Just fun. Just so much fun.
It is super fun. And that was like one of his first American movies.
Yeah, the first ones that kind of put him on the map here. James Hong was cast as David Lo Pan. He was absolutely fantastic in the movie. If you want to know more about James Hong, please refer back to our Golden Child episode. We go much deeper into James Hong's past.
And again, just recently got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and is just as spry. Like I said, saw him coming out, Jimmy Kimmel dancing and fighting the dragon. The guy is just going strong, and hopefully we have another, 10 or 20, 30 projects with him.
I hope so.
Because it's going to be weird. He has been a constant in everything from like, Sanford and Son to ER to this movie to anything. The guy has over 700 credits.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, he's fantastic.
And all his voices of some of your favorite cartoon characters on like Kung Fu Panda. And,
yeah.
The guy is just a treasure.
He is. He definitely is. Victor Wong was cast as Egg Shen, the mystic.
Come on, Egg. Give it to me straight.
Victor Wong was also absolutely fantastic. Again, if you want to know more about, please reference back to our Golden Child episode.
Yeah, these guys this was a good year for them.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of some really great parts. Like both of these.
4 really great parts.
Yeah. And very well, the Victor Wong's parts were a little bit similar. And he wasn't as gross as Egg. He was a little bit more like heroic, which was very cool. He was kind of, but for James Hong, man, he definitely got to
chewed that scenery, man.
Yes.
He was so good.
He was so good in this movie.
But I feel like the Egg Shen character in this movie was more defined in Golden Child.
Yeah.
Like you could tell that there was like backstory and there was.
They didn't need to resort to boogers and
Yeah.
farts.
He's so fantastic in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, everybody. I mean, it's just such a fun movie. It's like every moment is great, and it leads into the next moment so perfectly. It's like it is to me a perfect movie.
Nothing is wasted in this movie.
No,
it
not at all.
Has meaning and relates to other parts of the movie.
It moves really fast and moves on a very logical path for something that's illogical.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't question it. It just moves because we are brought in. The beauty of it is I was going to say Russell Crowe, the Kurt Russell Jack Burton is the audience surrogate. So he is, he knows Wang, but he doesn't know the world. So it's what's going on here, Wang? Then he's asking for us. Yeah, exactly. What is it? Oh, I feel great now. And it was like
the elevator scene's so fantastic.
So much fun. It's situational humor.
Yeah.
They don't have to resort to gross gags or booger jokes or fart jokes.
Because the characters are so well defined.
And the writing is very strong.
You throw them in the situation and it will write itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, yes, but it's like, the writing, the dialogue is what makes this film work because it's snappy, it's funny, it's unexpected.
Right.
It adds to the feeling of this movie. It's like we're watching an old Sam Spade movie, but he goes to the Chinatown underground. It's it's like H.P. Lovecraft meets Sam Spade. So it's got this really cool, unexpected, and different mashup that people haven't seen before. Again, leading to poor box office because it's like, I don't get it.
It's really interesting because The Golden Child wanted to be that, and they totally wrote all that out.
Right.
Maybe to the detriment of Big Trouble, but it was interesting because reading The Golden Child, it's like reading a Raymond Chandler novel. It's
they could have melded those two movies into a movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Into one movie because basically The Golden Child is the green-eyed girl. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's capturing something that's needed by the bad guy to, either enter this dimension or create their immortality
take over the world.
It's all about taking over the world, baby. At the end of the day,
Doom.
At the end of the day, they all want to take over the world or destroy the world, or it ain't good for the world.
They cast Kate Burton as Margot Litzenberger, the little journalist helper.
She's awesome.
Kate is actually the daughter of Richard Burton and his first wife, Sybil Christopher. Kate has been active in theater for most of her life. She'd only appeared in a small number of TV parts before making her feature film debut in Big Trouble in Little China. Since, she's been nominated for 3 Primetime Emmy Awards and 3 Tony Awards.
It must have been kind of tough with Richard Burton as your father.
Yeah. It's
Kate, do the monologue, Kate.
You want to
Dad, stop drinking.
Yeah.
For just 5 seconds, okay? It's my graduation.
Do the monologue, Kate. The one we worked on. Do it.
That was when I was 8 years old. I'm graduating from high school today.
Do you think his one note was always to drink more before he started acting?
Use more intensity.
Donald Lee was cast as Eddie Lee. Eddie Lee was the...
Allied to L-E-E.
Yeah.
Lee.
Right. He was the Wang Chi's little buddy. Not little buddy, but his buddy.
He's bigger than him. He was his big buddy.
He was great in this movie, though.
He's hilarious.
This was Donald's feature debut. He was also in One Crazy Summer, which was released just a couple months later, or a month later, in August of 1986.
That one's coming up in our One Crazy Cusack, or 3 Crazy Cusacks.
3 Crazy Cusacks.
What is that?
That's in August, I think.
Yeah. Nope.
That's in September.
Ended up the summer with some Cusies.
Some Cusies, yeah. Directed, obviously, by Savage Steve Holland, who is a fascinating man.
Oh, yeah.
He would appear in a number of TV shows and movies throughout the years, as well as many stage plays. Carter Wong was cast as Thunder, the elemental master who can expand his body, and died in the weirdest way.
Yeah, didn't he just explode?
He just exploded. He got
popped.
really.
It was so gross.
He got upset about his boss dying, and so then he just blew himself up.
As one does.
Wong appeared in over 60 films before Big Trouble in Little China, mostly martial arts films. As an actor, he contributed to more than 70 martial arts films throughout his career. He also worked as a stuntman in films and was the fighting instructor for the movie Rambo 3.
But you in Big Trouble in Little China? The underrated movie.
You do this every time, and I literally have no idea what you say every time.
You have subtitles.
Yes, we subtitles on a podcast.
Right. It's talk, okay? He lost his legs.
At the age of 75, Carter Wong is still active in martial arts.
Nice.
Yeah. Peter Kwong is Rain, an elemental master and expert martial artist with a sword. He's appeared in over 100 films and TV shows, including
The Golden Child.
He studied Northern Shaolin Kung Fu, which has allowed him to do many of his own stunts and eventually branch off to more meditative disciplines such as Tai Chi Chuan and Shi Kung meditation. He teaches Tai Chi Chuan.
I'd like to learn that from him.
I'm sure he's probably, I don't know if he's doing it here in LA.
Sensei,
or...
can I ask you about a Big Trouble in Little China? Hey, Sensei. He
So-
just kicked me out in like 3 minutes.
Did you make your own rain, or do they have a rain machine?
Just get on the mat, you nudge.
James Pax cast as Lightning, the elemental master who can shoot bolts of lightning out of his hands. Pax made his feature debut in Invasion USA, starring Chuck Norris.
Yeah, your favorite.
No,
Your favorite.
Firewalker was my favorite.
Which Invasion USA, is that the Red Dawn ripoff?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Old Chucky
100%.
just chasing blockbusters his entire career until he got Walker, Texas.
Stranger. Yeah. He was Asylum Pictures before Asylum Pictures was. He would just find a movie and
Yeah.
steal the idea
Exactly.
and then make it himself.
Let's do another movie. Hey, I just saw a movie in the theater called Red Dawn. I think we should make it. What do you mean? I think we should make it.
But you just saw it.
Yeah, but I mean with me, and we'll call it something different. But it'll be the same movie. Except I'll play all the kids.
We'll call it Invasion USA.
And I'll use some of my punches and kicketh.
Peter Kwong, no, not Peter Kwong. James Pax had appeared in guest parts in some TV shows before being cast in Big Trouble in Little China, such as Scarecrow and Mrs. King,
Nice.
T.J. Hooker,
Yes, with
and
our old
MacGyver.
friend.
Yeah,
Bill Shatner.
yes, and MacGyver. He's since moved back to Asia to work on Chinese and Japanese TV and film. Susie Pie was cast as Miao Yin, Wang's fiancée, who was kidnapped by Lo Pan. Susie Pie was actually a Pet House Pet of the Month in 1981,
What?
which I did not know literally until yesterday.
Well, good for her.
She appeared in Penthouse a couple of times, and actually appeared in a Playboy video as well. She appeared in several feature films and television shows, including the Burt Reynolds action film Sharky's Machine in 1981.
Oh, Sharky's Machine, man. They cut off his fingers.
No.
Ah, it's awesome.
Is
Sharky's
that what the
Machine.
machine does? Does it cut off fingers?
No. Yes, he was working in a doweling plant.
Yeah.
You know, where they made dowels, and he got his hand caught in the machine.
It was not set at the Sharky's Mexican restaurant.
No, it was making the ovens for the Sharkies.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Dowels
Dowels
for the ovens for
the
Sharkies.
ovens for the Sharkies.
For Sharkies machines.
Right.
It's actually a really good movie. It's pretty gritty.
I've never seen it.
He's
I
like
will have to watch
he's
it.
like a PI or something. It was
Oh,
like
really?
one of his first kind of gritty. You know, it was on the, you know,
Yeah.
it was when it was good. I liked it.
Okay, all right. She also appeared in First Blood in 1982.
She's really good.
Welcome back, Sly, to the podcast.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, he said that's a good thing.
She's really good.
She was a girl.
She was really good.
Oh, she was really good. Okay, there we go.
Good,
Okay.
man. Clear she is.
Unfortunately, her scene in First Blood was deleted, but it is viewable on the Ultimate Edition DVD.
She wasn't really that good, so we had to cut
Actually,
the
I'm
scene.
pretty sure Sly probably thought it was good because I'm pretty sure she appeared naked in the scene.
I'm a pervert.
So after all the casting, they moved into production. Kurt Russell lifted weights and began running 2 months before production began to prepare for the physical demands of principal photography.
Right, when he looked really good, but he, you know, that's what was cool. He probably just in his garage, you know, lifted weights on his own bench and then,
Probably.
you know, ran a couple of miles because he was in shape, but it wasn't like he was, you know,
He wasn't,
that
like,
superhero
ripped or
ripped,
anything.
like
Yeah.
these guys today, which is
Not like
ridiculous.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Man, just stop getting so ripped, guys. Just stop it. Let's put an end to this. We don't need it.
And what's the point of getting ripped? 2 movies Kumail Nanjiani's in that he's ripped in, and they never show him with any muscles.
No.
He's wearing so much baggy clothes that it makes
No.
no sense.
Apparently his wife likes it, so he's gonna
Oh, good for her.
going on.
That's
So
good, I'm sure.
Keep the wife happy. Apparently, that's
I
what
don't know.
married
Yeah.
people do.
Guess if somebody paid me to work out, I'd probably work out
Yeah,
more.
100%. But I just, you know, a lot of guys are getting body dysmorphia now because
Yeah.
of these. You
They
know,
have to be.
I mean, good on us. I guess it's time to, you know, make us feel like shit, for looking like slobs. But it's just unrealistic. And not every, it's like what I hate. Like, I get it if you're Thor or if you're Superman or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're like playing a scientist, you don't need an 8-pack and
No.
veins on top of your veins.
No.
Chris Pratt. Or any of these guys. It's just like,
it's not. I mean, in the movie that he got ripped for, there were characters in there that did not get ripped and didn't need to. There was no reason for it.
I'm a math teacher with incredibly defined abs.
I'm also Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. Not everybody has to be,
Yeah.
the V. Give us old guys a break.
Please. In addition, Carpenter and his cast and crew did a week's rehearsals that mainly involved choreographing the martial arts scenes. Which I hope they spent more than a week doing it, but it appears not.
Well, I mean, they used a lot of tricks and stuff. It was, there weren't, the fight scenes aren't The Matrix.
No.
But they are really fun for the time,
Yeah.
and they seem realistic, It's
They're
like,
shot really well, and they're fun.
yeah.
Yeah. Although the early exterior establishing scenes were filmed on location in Chinatown, most of the film was shot on sets built in the Fox lot in Los Angeles. Production designer John Lloyd designed the elaborate underground sets and recreated Chinatown with 3-story buildings, roads, streetlights, sewers, and et al. This was necessary for the staging of complicated special effects and kung fu fight sequences that would have been very hard to do on location. This forced Carpenter to shoot the film in 15 weeks with a $25 million budget.
Damn.
Yeah, that's impressive. For the film's many fight scenes, Carpenter worked with martial arts choreographer James Liu, who planned out every move in advance. Says Carpenter,
I used every cheap gag, trampolines, wires, reverse movements, and upside down sets. It was much like photographing a dance.
it is. There's so much. My favorite is when it's so obvious they're jumping off a trampoline.
Oh yeah. 25 million was pretty big budget back then, though. I mean, it was, we weren't up to like the $100 million budget.
No,
we were up to
no.
50, I think, was 50 to 60 was like.
I want to say, I think Superman had like a $30 to $35 million budget.
Yeah,
That was in 78. So, I mean, yes. It was still a big budget, yes. Carpenter envisioned the film as an inverse of traditional scenarios and action films with a Caucasian protagonist helped by a minority sidekick.
Yeah, he basically wanted to make, he basically wanted to flip it on its side.
Yeah.
It's like Robin was the real star and Batman was kind of a bumbler. And it's just, it's ingenious. And the thing about Carpenter that I love is he zigs when everybody else zags. And like I said, people don't get it at the time, but they eventually get it, because he's doing something for himself. And it takes people to catch on to somebody who's just doing it because he thinks it's the right thing and the good thing for the project, for the story.
Right. Carpenter has said the film is really about a sidekick who thinks he is a leading man. According to Carpenter, the studio didn't get it and made him write something that would explain the character of Jack Burton. Carpenter came up with the prologue scene between Egg Shen and the lawyer to address the studio's concern.
What scene? What are you talking about?
At the very beginning, I think when they talk about... I don't remember. It's been a while.
Because it opens with the poker game, right? And then he, it's Don's coming up.
There's
and Jack
something at the
won.
beginning when he's on the phone and he's talking about. I think it's when he's trying to get his truck back.
Yeah.
I think there's some sequence in that where they explain more about Jack Burton.
Which is fine, but it's like you don't.
It's not.
This is where
necessary.
studios are
Yeah.
morons because they're morons. They think everybody else is morons, and they're like, well, I don't know if I get that. Maybe you should put something like with Blade Runner. I don't know. Maybe we should put in a really stupid voiceover that explains everything ad nauseum.
Well, I don't get it, so nobody else gets
Exactly. Ugh.
Carpenter was not entirely satisfied with Boss Film Studios, the company in charge of the film's visual effects. Boss Film Studios was founded by Richard Edlund, a former ILM employee.
Genius.
Who had worked on the Star Wars trilogy and Raiders of the Lost Ark. According to Carpenter, they took on more projects than they could handle, and some effects for the film had to be cut down. At the time, they were also working on Legal Eagles, Poltergeist 2: The Other Side, and Solar Babies.
All not very good movies.
No. Edlund countered, saying that there were no difficulties with the company's workload, and that Big Trouble was probably its favorite film at the time, with the exception of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, nice.
Which they had worked on as well. The effects budget for the film was just under $2 million, which Edlund said was barely adequate.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, considering a $25 million budget, And they spent $2 million on the effects?
One of the more difficult effects was the floating eyeball, the spy for Lopan. It was powered by several puppeteers and dozens of cables to control its facial expressions.
That was ripped right the F off from Dungeons and Dragons, by the way. Somebody saw that on the Book of Monsters cover at the bookstore and was like, hey,
Yeah.
let's make a big eyeball.
It was shot with a special matting system specially designed for the giant floating eyeball.
It was a cool effect. I liked it.
was.
It creeped me out.
It was. It totally was. It was great. Carpenter wrote the score for the movie like he does for most of his films.
Of course he did.
Yeah. With the soundtrack, Carpenter wanted to avoid the usual cliches, as he found that...
Other scores for American movies about Chinese characters are basically rinky-tink, chop-suey music. I didn't want that for Big Trouble.
That's good.
Yeah. It's that beep, 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 boop,
Yeah,
boop,
yeah,
boop.
yeah.
Super offensive, you know.
Yeah. It's like, okay, just pandering. Carpenter instead opted for his trademark synthesizer score mixed with rock and roll music. So good. Soundtrack is fantastic.
I love those.
Carpenter was actually nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Music for Big Trouble in Little China.
As he should be. I love his synth scores.
So the movie opened in 1,053 theaters on July 2nd, 1986,
Got my money.
and grossed $2.7 million in its opening weekend and went on to gross $11.1 million in North America, well below its estimated budget of between $19 to $25 million.
Oh, womp womp.
The film was released in the midst of the hype for James Cameron's blockbuster Aliens, which was released 16 days after, which may have impacted the excitement for the film.
Yeah, that was a biggie. I remember.
It probably just overshadowed it, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I mean, it's not like people are like, well, I'm saving my money for 2 weeks because I can only see one movie this summer.
No, I know. But I think everybody was talking about Aliens, and then Big Trouble just kind of went under the radar.
Well, it was a weird movie without any big stars.
Yeah.
You know, by an indie director that was a hard sell. You know, the marketing was weird on that movie.
Yeah.
Like the commercials did not do it justice.
Right.
You know,
right.
it wasn't like
Didn't have the tone. Yeah.
It was more like going for horror. Or it was
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
The studio did not know how to market this
No,
movie.
no. Critics lambasted the movie, giving high marks to Kurt Russell, but generally disliking the film.
I don't get it.
I know. I agree. It was a fun movie. After the commercial and critical failure of the film, Carpenter became very disillusioned with Hollywood and went back to his independent filmmaker roots.
Good for him.
He said in an interview,
The experience of Big Trouble was the reason why I stopped making movies for the Hollywood studios. I won't work for them again. I think Big Trouble is a wonderful film, and I'm proud of it, but the reception it received and the reasons for that reception were too much for me to deal with. I'm too old for that sort of bullshit.
he did eventually go back to working for Hollywood.
Of course, there's money there. You know, it's of course.
But I get it. I mean, he put a lot of time and effort, and he loved this movie.
He's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
He's not a movie maker. There are movie makers that are just perfect for all of that collaboration, making a big old studio film, which everybody gets to glop their gloop in, and somehow it works okay.
Right,
Like
right.
Dominion or what the Jurassic Park movie
Yeah,
out.
Jurassic
That's
World.
crap. It's going to make $1 billion.
Right.
Well, he's like Scorsese. He's like any of these guys, but his genre of choice isn't the prestige genre.
Right,
You know, he likes horror and sci-fi and different kinds of interesting stories that most people don't tell. And I think he kind of gets the short shrift in terms of, you know, American treasure filmmakers that we have.
yeah.
And he's a real auteur, you know? And
Agreed.
it's hard for an auteur to work, and not like an a-hole auteur,
Right,
but a guy that just has a vision. There's a difference, you know?
Yeah. He knows what he wants.
It's not insecurity driving him.
Right.
It's the vision of what he wants to see on film. You know,
Right,
he's
right.
painting his painting, and, you know, the paints are his paints.
Right. Since then, the movie has had a resurgence in popularity from its home video sales and being on pay channels constantly, which is how I first saw it.
Hey, man, I got it
saw
on Blu-ray. I
all
got it
the
on
time.
DVD.
Oh yeah.
I think I even had it on Laserdisc.
Nice. A tie-in side-scrolling beat-em-up video game of the same name was published in 1986 by Electric Dreams Software for the ZX Spectrum, the Commodore 64, and the Amstrad CPC.
Yeah, nothing like that Amstrad CPC, man. Everybody had that.
I had to look it up because I'd never seen this, and man, it looked bad.
I don't remember this.
The player controls one of the three main protagonists and may switch between them during play. They literally all travel together, all three, like going on to the side.
Wasn't there an eye too that
Yeah,
you had to
yeah,
punch?
yeah.
I think I did play this on somebody's Commodore.
The characters progress from right to left, an unusual orientation in the genre of game, rather than left to right.
Disorienting.
Yeah, fighting oncoming enemies. Initially, the three characters fight unarmed, but each has a weapon of choice that can be collected. Jack Burton can use a gun with limited ammunition. Wang Chi can wield swords, which eventually break. The third character, Egg Shen, initially fires weak magic bolts, which improve with range and strength when he finds a magic potion. Critical reception was mixed.
Yeah, okay.
There was an NES version of the game released in 2016, which was a hack of the game Bad Dudes with new skins.
Yeah, bad dudes.
The gameplay looks really fun. You could actually buy an NES cartridge version of it through Etsy, but it's not available anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, it is available to download. So if you have an emulator and you want to buy you can download the ROM and play
Nice.
the NES version of this game. All of it totally illegal because it was not licensed at all.
Well, then don't do it, people.
But don't do it. Yes, we're not saying you should do it.
No, we don't condone illegal activities.
There was a board game released a few years ago, but copies of it go for $595 now.
Ah.
Yeah, it had a ton of cool little figurines based on the characters that you would use to move around.
Nice.
Like, it was really rad. It's too bad. Upper Deck also released a card game version that is still available for the more reasonable price of $45.
Yeah.
In June 2015, The Wrap reported that Dwayne Johnson was developing a remake to star as Jack Burton and produced with his $7 Productions film studio. Ashley Miller and Zach Stentz were hired as screenwriters. They had worked on the TV shows Andromeda, Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, and Fringe, as well as the movie Thor and X-Men First Class.
X-Men First Class. There's a mixed bag of stuff. Fringe is basically the only thing that I knew.
I liked the first Thor movie. I thought it was good. Andromeda was good.
Thor wasn't well written, the first Thor movie, I don't think.
It was fine. I mean, it was passable.
It was bland.
Yeah.
You know? It was bland.
Okay.
They didn't know what to do with Thor, in my opinion.
yeah.
Until Taika Waititi got a hold of him. And
That's true. Because, the second movie was not great.
it was just like, he was like Superman.
Yeah. It's just dated. Yeah. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Johnson expressed interest in having Carpenter involved in the film. Carpenter responded, stating,
It's very early in the process. I haven't spoken to Dwayne Johnson about any of this. I'm ambivalent about a remake.
By August 27, 2018, $7 Productions president Hiram Garcia clarified that the film will be a sequel and a continuation of the previous film.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I'm okay with that. I am
Yeah.
okay with that. I am okay with you making sequels. I don't love it, but I'm
Yeah,
okay with
yeah.
it. If you bring back Jack Burton, you
Yeah.
know, and I also don't think, and I'm sorry, I don't think Dwayne Johnson needs to be in every damn thing that there is, and I don't think he fits into
No,
this world.
he is not.
He's too
Jack
goofy.
Burton.
He
He's
doesn't
not Jack
have the gravitas. And I know that sounds stupid for this movie, but you have to be able to play a certain seriousness
Yeah.
to the absurdity that I just feel like in these types of movies, he's always winking at the camera, you know?
Yeah.
It just doesn't
Agreed,
seem like he
agreed.
commits. I mean, he's playing Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's always Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
Yeah.
you know? And Jack Burton was a character. It wasn't
Right,
Kurt Russell,
right.
you know what I mean?
No, totally. They were very clear, making sure that the new film acknowledged the creative minds behind the new film acknowledged they have no intention of replacing Kurt Russell by recasting Johnson as Jack Burton, but will make a follow-up to the movie to the original. I think what happened is that they originally were going to, and then the backlash was like, yeah, don't do that.
F you. Yeah,
and
of
so they're like,
course.
oh no, we'll just make it a sequel. It's
Yeah,
fine.
which is smarter anyway,
Yeah.
because then you have leeway to do other stuff. Remakes of beloved movies are a fool's errand.
Yeah.
There is no win on that. Even
Yeah.
if it's decent, like Fright Night. They remade that with Anton Yelchin and the Penguin from the Batman movie. What's that kid's name? Colin Farrell.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was fine, but it was nowhere near as good as the first one, and
Right.
it didn't need to be made. They're all pointless movies. They're just cash grabs, and they don't work, especially horror movies.
Yeah. It's unknown if they'll be drawing material from the comic book series that continued the story from the film. They actually had a long-running comic series that continued right where the movie stopped.
Ooh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think it was done in the 90s, if I remember correctly.
I'd still like to see it.
As of August 2021, Johnson is still confident that the sequel will happen.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, but I mean, the same thing with Dwayne Johnson in Black Adam, this movie that I heard about like 10 years ago, and I was like, well, it's never going to get made, and I just saw
out
a
now,
trailer for it a couple days ago.
I have Dwayne Johnson fatigue.
Yeah, I agree.
I just, he's great at what he does. He's a great entertainer. He knows. I give him props because he's a movie star.
Yeah.
And there aren't many movie stars left, and he is
Right.
100% a movie star. It's just, for me, I'm just not a big fan of the movie star. Where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not. That's not true. It's just where the star, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or, Sylvester Stallone. All these guys, they're great and I love them, but they're always themselves. There's never, it's not. You're not going to see.
It's rare for them
Arnold
to-
playing, a nuclear physicist unless that he rips his shirt off and has to save the world.
Right,
It's like,
right.
which maybe is unfair to these actors, but
He did. I mean, he did. Schwarzenegger, in his defense, did do some of that. I mean, he had some of that in his career, like Twins and stuff like that.
but still, it's him.
Yeah, yes.
It's still sounding exactly
Yeah,
like him,
well-
and there's no difference between character. It's always
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And the same delivery. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, and The Rock is definitely that, for sure.
and it's entertaining, and I like them, and the world loves them. I mean, who the hell cares what this moron has
Right,
to say
right.
about it? He's not going to lose sleep. Of my assessment. It's just he's good at what he does, but this movie needs an actor, not a movie star. If you're going to redo it, you got to make it with the same kind of indie underbelly tones.
Yeah.
If you're going to make it work.
Yeah, agreed.
Then it's just going to, or it's just going to be something flashy and, another forgettable Netflix reimagining
Yeah.
bloopity bloops.
Well, that's it. That's all I got. So,
Well, that was enough, man. Good job. That was a lot of fun. I love this movie.
such a great movie.
I love this movie. The Carpenter. I call the Carpenter trilogy. The Thing, this, and Escape from New York. I know they did Escape from L.A. It was
It was okay.
inferior.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. But those three movies are three of the best genre movies of all time.
Yeah.
And do yourself a favor. If you haven't seen any of those movies, watch them all. Make a night of it.
Yeah. I would say do a double feature with Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China.
Ooh.
And then the next day do a triple feature with Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy.
Oh,
of
yeah?
The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness.
But that's just like.
And you will want to slash your wrists
Yeah,
by the
well,
end of it.
you're going on a quality downslide, man. You're starting at the
I
top
know,
and
I
skiing
know.
your way down to the bottom because
I love Prince of Darkness. I think that's a fantastic
Prince of Darkness
movie.
is an underrated
It is.
movie.
It has one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
Okay, yeah, it's a weird movie.
Yeah.
It's very challenging and different.
Yeah.
In the Mouth of Madness is just kind of a mess
Yeah.
with
yeah.
Scott Bakula.
Yeah.
It's a Clive Barker adaptation, and his stuff is difficult to adapt.
Isn't who's God? The Jurassic Park guy. Isn't he in that in the Mouth of Madness too?
Yeah, it's Clive Barker and Sam Neill.
Sam Neill.
And I
that's it,
think
yeah.
Sam Neill plays an author or something.
Yes, that's right.
And
yes,
at the end, he's got
yes.
like words all over him, and he's gone mad because he's been
Yeah.
into the mouth of madness at him.
Yeah.
Into the mouth of madness.
I've been getting into a lot of cosmic horror recently,
Yeah.
so like this is it's just on my brain. We'll be back next week.
Yeah, a little for the stepdads.
Stepdad's show.
Thanks for tuning in to number 70.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
I was already a huge fan of the dudes. They are,
I forgot.
Got to make it at least somewhat understandable.
okay.
How many adventure pictures dealing with Chinese?
Wow.
Whew. It's been a while since we've been doing shows.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Perfect Strangers, already in progress.